Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to have us all here. And today, for the 2020 North American MenEngage Symposium, it's really all about, it's a place where we can build together. We want to be able to propel the movement. We want to be able to engage men and boys for gender equality. Today is all about that. It's about transforming old paradigms, dismantling patriarchy and capitalism. It's about disrupting toxic masculinities. And it's really a call to action for men. We want to come together today and join forces. And we really want to promote gender equality. So these discussions at this symposium today really help us move forward. And together, when we come together, we have the ability to make change. I'm not sure if you noticed, but when you signed up, there was a hashtag Ubuntu, and Ubuntu means I am because you are. And that's a traditional African philosophy, really reflects how we are all connected as people. We're connected, a sense of unity between all of us. You know, we need other humans in order for us to be human. Ubuntu is really about a collectiveness, and a person is a person through other people. So that being said, I am super excited to get started. Every time that you feel something or you could resonate with something that relates to you or evokes an emotion, we could always drop the hashtag Ubuntu. With that being said, let's open up with our welcome. We have Yoni Vandesen and we have Stephen Botkin, who's going to do a welcome. I'm just so excited to have them here, and they're going to explain a little bit of what they do and what this is all about. And I see you guys, Stephen and Yoni, thank you for joining us. Thank you. Hi, Stephen. Hi. Hi. So I'm just going to pass it off to you and let everyone know exactly what NAMEN is all about and MenEngage.
Hi, everyone. Well, thank you for this incredibly beautiful opening of the NAMEN Symposium. I think it's really set a beautiful tone to connect us all. And I feel very grounded. Thank you, Greg. And my name is Yoni van der Zand. I work as one of the co-directors of the MenEngage Global Secretariat. And as some of you may know, the NAMEN Symposium is part of the global or the international MenEngage Ubuntu Symposium. And I want to share just a little bit about that symposium for all of us to be informed about, to the extent that you do not already know this. But the Ubuntu Symposium is organized by MenEngage Alliance, and we are a network of organizations and activists working to engage men and boys and transform toxic masculinities or patriarchal masculinities around the world. And there's about, I think, over 1,000 organizations now part of this alliance. And we have different networks, one of them being in the North America region. But there are also networks in South Asia, in Latin America, in the Caribbean, in Europe, and in Africa. And so we are really Ubuntu all connected in the way we organize together. And the MenEngage Ubuntu Symposium is specifically organized also with partners in Rwanda. So we're virtually hosting the symposium on the African continent with our partners RAMREC and RAMNet in Rwanda itself. And that's also where the concept of centering Ubuntu really came from how can we make the connection with the African continent, with our organizers there. And Ubuntu came up as a key concept of something that is needed at this point in time for us all to be connected as humans around the world. To share, I think, in our sorrows and our concerns, and to find each other in finding solutions and learning from each other, and through our connections, really trying to transform the world. We have a couple of concepts that are very central in the symposium. It's around power with, so working together. It's around transformations. How do we truly transform our interhuman relations, but also the systems that are creating inequalities and human rights violations around the world? So how do we really transform those systems into better systems? Center are also accountability, so strengthening accountable approaches, intersectionality, and feminisms, and working in feminist informed ways. But I think what really sums all of that up is how can those of us working to engage men and boys, transform masculinities, be part of the requests, no, the pushes, the asks for change of those who are marginalized, and how can we be part of the movements for systemic transformation that they are leading, and how can our work be in support of that? What we really love is how NAMEN, the North American MenEngage Network, is centering a more political agenda for this work in a way that is so crucial for the North America region, for the United States and Canada. As the NAMEN Symposium centers racism, anti-Blackness, intersectionality, and the need for decolonized approaches and decolonization, we really feel that by NAMEN centering these key issues, MenEngage Alliance around the world can learn, and it can inform the work that MenEngage Alliance is doing globally. So we also really want to thank you for that. We know that particularly in the United States, the strong men narrative in politics has been very dominant over recent years, and we see how this kind of toxic masculinities has become very well known and worrisomely supported among many in the general public. And so for NAMEN to center the discussions that you are centering and taking bold steps to create a counter narrative to those, I think that is going to be tremendously meaningful, and we really thank you and congratulate you in advance for having this conversation, for creating this space, and for seeing how we can work together to make the work more feminist, intersectional, informed, and to work together towards gender equality, LGBTQI rights, and social justice more broadly. Thank you so much. I want to pass it over to Stephen Botkin, board co-chair of NAMEN. Thanks again for inviting us, and over to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Yoni, and the Global MenEngage Alliance for your vision and your support. This regional symposium would not be possible without you. And thank you, Greg Greycloud, for calling us together in body, mind, and spirit. Welcome to everyone on behalf of the Board of Directors of the North American MenEngage Network. We welcome you to our first North America Regional Symposium. Thank you for joining us. Although we are not physically together, let's imagine looking around the room, looking into each other's eyes, taking a deep breath, and appreciating this gathering. We feel proud and humbled to be together with all of you. North America, as a region, is land that has been largely stolen from Native people, and a society built by enslaved Native people stolen from their land. The ongoing physical, mental, and spiritual legacies of colonization and enslavement is leading us all to the brink of disaster. More than ever, we are living in a time of crisis, a health crisis, an environmental crisis, a political crisis, an economic crisis. Vulnerable communities are being massively impacted, and the conditions of catastrophic social disruption are likely to get worse. At the North America MenEngage Network, we understand that this legacy and this crisis is the context for our work. our growing understanding of intersectionality is changing who we are and how we work together to engage men and boys in gender equality and mobilize people of all genders for transforming masculinity. We are coming together in this symposium at this historic moment of time, at the confluence of these powerful forces. We are listening to the marginalized voices, centering the lives of the most vulnerable, and building a movement to dismantle patriarchy and white supremacy, and to create a world of equality and justice. Today, we are going to take a deep dive into the themes of intersectionality and decolonization. First, by spending time with young people who are grappling with and teaching about these issues through performance. And then with a presentation and discussion facilitated by international thought leader and NAMEN board member, Tonya Lovelace. Thank you to the tremendous team of people who came together so quickly and professionally to implement the vision for this symposium.
Thank you so much. We just appreciate you. And really the part where you said, although we can't be together, it certainly feels like we're together. It certainly feels that way. And I'm sure next year we will be, but even that introduction really gave a sense of unity. And we just appreciate all the work that you do. Our first generation group, I'm so excited to have them here. This is going to be an exciting performance we're going to see. And what I'm going to do is spend a little chat with Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hello.
So excited to spend time with you. And I, again, commend all the work you do with First Generation. I'm looking forward, we're all absolutely looking forward to the video you're about to play. Before we play it, can you just give a brief overview what it's all about?
Yes, and I just also want to say that we're very excited and honored to be part of this process today. I just want to give a quick background on the video that we're about to watch so that there's some context. This video is made up of scenes from 2 different full-length pieces created by First Generation ensembles. And the 2 performances that I'm referring to are Stand Tall Mi Gente, which means Stand Tall My People, and Tenderness. And each performance in and of themselves took about 18 months to create. First Generation ensembles are most often made up of young adults ages 15 and up. And our creative process is that our ensemble members each identify experiences and stories from their own lives. And they also explore the greater systemic issues that have affected their lives. And the process involves writing, choreographic explorations, and also interviews and ensemble dialogues that we audio tape and transcribe, and then edit and shape into the final script. And I guess in the spirit of Ubuntu, I want to mention one thing, and that is that our performances have often involved 8 to 10 individuals sharing their experiences and stories in 8 to 10 different languages. And I've often thought of them as a spider's web, where they're weaving together their different stories. However, when you touch one strand of a spider's web, the whole web vibrates. And
that is so well said. You're right. Everything connects. You're right, Julie. You're so right. And the part about when you said it takes 18 months to create, like that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot of work. I'm excited to see the video.
Thank you.
Homo yala wana mama Kenya o Mbarasu wayo Homo yala wana mama Kenya o Ubara suayo
على صوت العصافير ورائحة الخبز الزبادي والشاي. I wake up every morning to the sound of birds, the smell of bread, yogurt, and tea. أنا في المزرعة تحت الشجرة أهتم بأخي الأصغر. نحن نأكل ونلعب. I spend my afternoons at the farm, sitting under a tree, taking care of my little brother, eating and playing. It's very, very hot. Perfect for me. I visit with Haboba, my grandmother. We are riding our donkeys to the well, breathing in the smell of farms, of food cooking, and the rain. My pockets are filled with meat and sticky candy that is melting in the sun. Life is fantastic for me. As we're riding our donkeys, my habab is singing, telling me stories, testing me with riddles, and joking. We are laughing all the way to the well and all the way home. And honestly, I love her. At night, I fall asleep listening to the sound of people praying from the Holy Book of Quran. I love you, Sudan, my country of goodness. We are known for our warmth, a welcoming land, a fertile land where everything grows. My country is wealthy. When you touch the seas, pearls. You can find gemstones in our shores everywhere. Beautiful valley. In you, I know the fruits of our earth. But all is being lost. There are rivers of blood.
I'm the voice of the lost,
the quiet,
the loud,
the poor,
the educated.
I'm the voice,
the intellectual, colorful,
street
the
kid,
dismissed,
the innocent.
I am the voice of pain,
hypersexualized, lost innocence,
long nights,
alone.
I'm the voice of
Black and brown lives matter.
Hashtag
Free PR.
hashtag
Not my president.
Hashtag
Get out. Hashtag me too. I can't breathe.
I'm the voice of the oceans, the dreamers,
Music,
the movers,
adrenaline junkie,
poverty.
project kid.
I am who you say I am. I am the voice of the one with no guidance,
the ones from parents who verbally abuse them,
I am the voice of single parent homes,
of struggle,
of heartbreak,
the ones who are scared to cry,
left behind.
the ones that hide.
I am the voice of the reserved,
misunderstood,
mixed misfit, teen quirky,
the insecure,
The nervous,
the ones who run away,
the ones who fight,
the bold.
agendered,
transgendered,
cisgendered, gender fluid,
I am
yo soy.
Boricua,
So deep in this dream of justice and liberation.
the voice
la voz.
of learning and witnessing.
Page 123.
I have been so emotional lately. Every single thing makes me want to cry.
Will you please turn to chapter 4, page 123?
I'm so bored.
here is prepared. You keep talking and you're not going to pass. I don't see one person in this class that's prepared.
What am I even doing here with these rude-ass American kids?
Jaden, put your phone away.
And annoying teachers.
You look like a B student.
I can't believe she just said that.
Miss, why are we learning this? What are we going to use it for?
It's on the test, and stop interrupting.
Shaking my head.
And if you don't pass the test, you're not passing this year.
Miss, I still want to know. Why are we learning this?
And if you don't care, then neither do I.
I can't believe she just said that.
I don't want to be here any more than you do.
Shaking my fucking head.
I'm so bored. Thank you.
Fuck! I hate this damn class. What the fuck? Am I saying fuck too much? Shit. Yeah. I sound so American. I am so cool. Oh, fuck! LMFAO! Amazing. Because this fuck word sounds so fucking natural.
Everybody wants to be American.
What does America offer anyway?
Have you thought about joining the military?
Hashtag brainwashed.
Isn't it amazing how America messes with everybody's mind?
The United States of America, built on freedom and justice for all.
Freedom and justice for all.
Hell the fuck no.
This country was built by taking native
It's
blood.
African blood.
Hashtag
Who's this guy teaching us anyways?
They were users and killers. Why aren't they in jail?
If you listen, you might learn something.
Oh, wait! Maybe because it was legal to kill natives and torture Africans.
Ha! No laws, no fucking justice.
All the trauma they put the Africans through.
Raping women just because the fuckers thought they owned them.
Well, guess what? I don't have a choice about this either. We have to get ready for these tests.
Gonna stay here all these years and act like they own this place.
If anybody should have a say about America, it should be the natives.
And the Africans.
Christopher, if you don't take that necklace off, I'm going to snatch it off.
I can't believe she just said that.
Who do you think they're going to believe? You or me?
Whoa. I'm so bored.
Mikey, will you please put your phone away?
Miss, I'm confused as hell.
You're probably going to end up in jail. Just like your brother.
What the fuck?
I get paid, whether you pass or fail.
Oh my God! What time does this class end?
Not everyone is college material.
3, 2, 1. Hashtag class over. Hashtag fuck it.
A local mother claims a police officer used excessive force on her 14-year-old son at a middle school football game. The 8th grader was allegedly wearing a rosary necklace outside his shirt when the officer told him to remove it.
A witness says Jaden was handcuffed and slammed repeatedly on the ground by an officer. Jaden yelled,
Call my mom! I can't read!
According to the police department, the use of rosaries can possibly symbolize gang affiliation. According to the boy's mother, her son was wearing the rosary as a tribute to his deceased brother.
My eldest son passed away 2 years ago. He was teaching Jaden about God. They were very close. Jaden believes his rosary protects him. That rosary is his way of remembering his brother.
Jaden is still in police custody. Yesterday, the whole school wore rosaries in solidarity for his release.
Oh
When I think of the prisons, I think of a feeling of rage. And whenever I feel that rage, I turn to James Baldwin. And I want to read a passage of his discussion of rage from Notes of a Native Son. There's not a black person alive who does not have rage in his blood. Let's start with an assertion. Mass incarceration makes the notion of post-racial America an absurdity.
The United States is home to 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prisons. Think about that.
If you're like me, an African-American male growing up in the inner city of Los Angeles, you come up constantly thinking two thoughts. Don't die before age 21, and do all you can to avoid jail time.
I don't feel comfortable at school going through the metal detectors every morning.
All sorts of violence seemed to structure my world, but one was especially significant, and that was the ever-present violence of the police. If we could, we tried to avoid them. Chances were that at some point in our move from adolescence to adulthood, we would have at least one defining encounter.
I just walked out of the bathroom and the cop grabbed me by the shirt.
Almost every young person of color, similar racial and class background, has at least one story of the time they were handcuffed, patted down, interrogated, followed, had drugs planted on them, or been told to put their hands on the hot hood of a police car, and that's pre or post PhD. For the we who look like me, Black, Latino, and Muslim young women and men from Oakland to Orlando, Denver to Detroit, Newark to New Orleans, Portland to Pittsburgh, this was a fact of life. These experiences showed us the ways prisons the world over specialize in institutionalizing dehumanization.
I felt like small.
From January to August of this year, over 100 black women and men lost their lives as a result of excessive force by police or otherwise deputized individuals. We should add to this the ease with which the death penalty is applied and enforced, the shadow of suspicion placed on immigrants, and the hostility directed at black youth, manifesting in a particular form of anti-black racism embedded in the school-to-prison pipeline.
It's like we are the prisoners at school, and they are the prison guards.
It's easy to be cynical about one's prospects in America when this is your reality. Once we take this into account, we have no choice but to confront the issue head-on and question our direction. Thus, it cannot be said enough that we need to mobilize the rage that Baldwin spoke of into a rigorous and robust commitment to liberation and free ourselves from our dependence on the carceral state, starting with those routinely racialized, criminalized, and disappeared.
The video have been seen around the world.
Sandra Bland.
Trayvon Martin.
Eric Garner.
A black woman.
A 17-year-old.
An 18-year-old.
Selling Lucy.
Smoking in her car.
Walking through his neighborhood.
A 12-year-old.
Michael Brown.
Apparently of a severed spine.
Iced tea in a bag of Skittles.
Freddie Gray.
Looked suspicious.
16 times.
I can't breathe.
Authorities say she hung herself.
In police custody.
A plastic bag tied around her neck?
A grand jury has found that.
We had no weapons on us.
Employed a chokehold.
Don't shoot.
Zimmerman has not been charged.
16 times.
The evidence is just not there.
I can't breathe.
In connection with the death of the black civilian.
Claire, the white police officer.
A grand jury has found that.
A grand jury has found that.
A grand jury has found that.
The evidence is just not there. I can't breathe.
I sit in silence as my city riots in a silent but deadly stampede. Broken. Breaking barriers. Breaking down doors. Broken glass, breaking windows, just to let some air in. Suffocating. Barely breathing. Breathtaking. How life can be sometimes, or all the time. Most of the time, we are just searching, seeking, thinking something has to give. Giving everything for nothing, begging, pleading, snatching, stealing any and everything, just to find something to live for, to die for, to be remembered for, even if it's all for nothing. Blinking. Staring off into the distance, wiping running water from my eyes. Gulping. Choking down pain like thick medicine. A taste of our own medicine. Beef. Threats. Clapbacks. Fists thrown, guns aimed, shots fired. Retaliate. 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 War. Lives lost. Children lost. Our generation lost. An eye for an eye. We're already blind. It's too late. Broken hearts. Homes. Families broken. Breaking news. A shooting. Here, there, here. Which way is nowhere? You're standing in it. Heart beating. Eyes leaking, mind racing, running, chasing, chasing life, chasing dreams, running from beef or running to it, with thoughts of dying for respect, guns blazing, blazing summers and a mother's tears for another lost son. My life, your life. Breathtaking. How life can be sometimes. Most of the time we are just searching, seeking, thinking something has to give, giving everything for nothing, begging, pleading, snatching, stealing any and everything just to find something to live for, to die for, to be remembered for, even if it's all for nothing in the middle of nowhere. I'm trying to find myself in a world so broken, hoping to get somewhere before it's too late.
I was told that when I was born, Titi Willie performed a blessing on me. Titi Willie was always big on, don't let people mess with you. He said that a lot. He'll be like, mira, don't let people mess with you. No dejen que te jodan la vida. Si te jodan la vida, if people are messing with you, you tell Titi, I'll take care of it. Years later, he'll be like, papito, you know I'm a witch, right? If there's someone you like, I can handle it. And I was like, ah, shit, my uncle got this. One time, we all saw this commercial for a doll. Una muñequita bien cute. It was me, Mommy, Titi Lisa, Titi Chucha, and Tio Willie. This doll had a pink and white dress, orange curls, and it talked. La muñequita hablaba, nena. Tio Willie was like, ay, girl, I need to have me one of those. Ay, lo quiero, I want it. Nobody said anything. That helped me believe that gay is okay. Whenever Willie's around, it's always, yeah, let's all party, let's all have some fun. Hey, I party. It's always been that way. Mi familia lo aceptan, lo adoran. But it was so confusing. Because what they would tell me was, if I find out you're gay, si tú eres gay, I'm gonna chop your dick off. They would call me fag boy and maricón. Some even said that they would disown me.
You should put some makeup on.
You're wearing way too much makeup.
You should put some makeup on.
Why are you not wearing a dress? Come on, you should show a little.
Tacho, by palabras, she looks like a hoe.
If you don't want that much attention, then cover up.
I don't want you out after dark.
No, you cannot absolutely wear those clothes running.
Come on, you should show a little.
You're gonna have to keep an eye on her when she gets older.
She's gonna be pregnant by the time she's 16.
No one is gonna want you. Oh yeah, don't you know how to cook? Stop acting like a man.
Who's gonna want to marry you?
I mean, if you like girls, how will you ever have kids?
You're stupid.
You're an idiot.
You're stupid.
You're an idiot.
Damn, can you be more stupid than that?
You're stupid.
You're an idiot.
Why are you so sensitive?
Dumb bitch. Nag, nag, nag. Talk too much. You talk too much. You talk too much. Dumb bitch.
You're making a scene for what?
What are you making a scene for?
You talk too much. You're making a scene for what?
You're making a scene for what?
You talk too much.
What are you making a scene for?
Chill. Calm down. Calm down.
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
Oh yeah, but she provoked me.
It's your fault.
You deserved it.
It's your fault. Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
You're making a scene for what?
You're making a scene for what? You're stupid.
You talk too much.
Not really. Who's gonna believe you? You deserved it. Shit, you deserve that. Who's gonna believe it? Because you deserved it.
You deserved it.
Mira, mami.
Guys, look, you see her?
Mira, mami.
Look at that.
Mira, mami.
Ooh, she's coming this way. You see that Latina ass?
I'd hit that.
Ooh, here she comes.
Hey, I'm gonna get my hands on that.
Look at them curves.
Should we talk to her?
I'm trying to hit
Hey,
that.
yo, mom, let me get your number.
Let me
get that number.
She got a fatty.
Damn.
I'd hit that. I'd hit that.
I'd hit that.
I'd bang
Let
that.
me tap that ass.
Let me get some of that though.
She looks good.
Can't wait to get my hands on that.
What's up with you, mom?
Hey, if you're 15, I'm 15.
Age is just a number.
You looking good, girl.
Shorty's thick.
Shorty's thick.
Shorty's super thick.
Oh, with your cute ass.
Hey, yo, ma, come here. I'll show you a good
Ooh,
time.
look at that smile.
I don't typically mess with
Ooh,
girls.
look, she's coming this way.
You're fine.
Hey, yo, mom, let me get your number.
Let me get that
Hey, yo,
number.
let me get your number, mom.
Ma, let me get that number.
Which one does she
I'll show you a
want?
good time.
You ugly anyway.
Little whore.
You're being such a thought.
You know, you ain't that cute anyways. Bye.
Whoa, bitch, you need to calm it
You
down.
know where you stand.
Bitch, calm it down.
I've been thinking about how your words have held me back from being who I really am. I want you to know how much your words have hurt me. Your words made it clear that my opinions aren't valid, and so I've stopped expressing them. Your words made it clear that my feelings aren't valid, and so I've held them in. Your words sexualized me, and I hate that you sexualize me. It makes me want to hide my body. At times, your words destroyed my confidence, all to belittle my power, the power of my womanhood. Understand that I really don't need your validation. I will use all your hurtful words to fuel my power to grow and become an even stronger woman. I will continue to flourish. I have the power to be who I want to be, to do what I want to do. I am divine, feminine energy. I am the voice of the welcomer, the good and the bad,
Peace.
art,
Creativity.
I am the voice,
The unwelcome.
the silent,
The suppressed,
the oppressed,
the angry and the
The
scared,
people who cross our borders.
those who are never heard.
The voiceless.
I am the voice,
The people that want change.
The ferocious,
The truth.
teens,
the youth. I am the voice.
hate and love,
The people that get abandoned.
The confused.
the defenseless,
Yo soy la voz.
Justice.
Justicia, the united, resistencia, movement. I am the voice.
the empowered,
I am the voice.
of our ancestors.
I am the voice.
Yo soy la voz. I am
The voice of
power.
Wow, that was super, super powerful. there was so many messages in there that I too can relate to. Ayana, myself being a first generation here in Canada, I get it. I get there's that intersectionality, and I get that there's two worlds that we're trying to, there's struggle and there's strength in being first generation. So that piece was so moving. I want to ask you, how does that impact your journey? Like creating that piece, has that impacted your life?
Yes. When I first wrote that piece, it was to address the Black on Black violence that was going around in my community. But I recently brought it to life because of everything that was going on with the Black Lives Matter and the riots and everything. So being in first gen has impacted my life in so many ways. One being, like, as an artist, I can't ignore what's going on anymore. Like, I just feel like a part and so deeply connected to everything that's going on. I'm right now a stay-at-home mom, so if you hear my baby in the background, it's okay.
Oh, girl, we can't.
Wait.
We don't hear anything. We don't hear a thing. We don't hear a thing. We just hear you. Carry on.
So yeah, it impacted me deeply because I feel like ever since I started first gen as a 14, 15-year-old young woman trying to find myself, it's just like now that I went through that journey with other young people, I can't ignore things that are going on in my community, things that are going on globally, or just the little injustices that happen every day. Like, it's in me now. So I feel like I have to address it. I have to speak out. I have to write it out or talk it out or just try to be a part of something that can't be ignored anymore.
You nailed it. There's something about writing it out and speaking it out that's so cathartic. It's just such a release.
Yes.
Just getting it out. And in such a powerful way through art. Very, very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a great performance. And Justice.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. The piece that you were saying in the performance, it just moved me. And I want to ask you a similar question. Your journey, how does that work help you in your journey? Does it help you bring things out? Is that performance that you did pretty much a reflection of your true self?
Well, I would say Stand Mi Gente definitely taught me a lot of things. I joined first generation as a 12-year-old. I was actually one of the youngest members of first generation. And I joined first generation and I started joining all these other after school programs to escape the violence that was present in my home, the drugs, the violence, alcoholism, a lot of other things too. And I didn't really think much of it in the beginning. I was just this kid who didn't want to be home. And I saw, on the paper, it said arts and crafts and social justice, and I was just interested. So I had my mom sign it and I started coming to first generation. And when we started working on Stand Mi Gente, there was another piece. We didn't get to see the piece, but there is another piece that is my piece about my life as a young boy in Holyoke, Massachusetts. How I sort of hide my feelings with all these questions and all these thoughts and run away from it. I joined first generation because I believe, although I joined it because I didn't know, I just wanted to get away from home. I believe I was meant to join first generation, and I believe that had I not joined first generation, I would not have a voice. Being in first generation and speaking out against so many things and speaking for myself has taught me to take up space, has taught me to have my own voice, and has taught me, just to say, hey, that's not cool. Or, it could be something as simple as, hey, that's not cool, or something as complex as, let's sit down and have this deep conversation because what you said, or something that's happening in the world is obviously affecting us right now.
I love that part where you said it could be something as simple as that's not cool or something political, because even the simple ones, if we don't address it right at the core, ends up being a bigger one.
Yeah.
And I 1000% agree with you that you were meant to be in that group when you saw it. It's funny that you look back now and you wonder, that was for you. It was, even though at the time you didn't know why you were joining. I think the subconscious knew why you were joining. Right. And I'm so glad that you joined. And it's so funny. I think as youth, I mean, I came from a dysfunctional family as well. I think coming from those spaces, there's something in us that just knows we need something more. We don't know what that is, but we know. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
I know exactly what you mean too. Justice, it was so awesome just spending this time with you and seeing your creative work. And I can't wait to do a piece with you one day.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Me too. Me too. Thank you for coming, Justice. Thank you. And Katie, it's so good. Hi. It's so awesome to have you here in this space, and watching that performance was so super powerful. Do you find when you're performing, it's a release for you as well?
Yes, definitely. I feel like working with First Gen has definitely made me more vulnerable and like appreciate vulnerability so much more. And like also it has just like pushed me to be more open, like a better listener, just like being a part of like listening to other people's stories as well, which has been really important for me in understanding people's like issues and like societal issues as a whole with more like compassion and depth. And I've taken like so much I've learned from First Gen and like applied it to my life on so many levels. And like everything we learned through First Gen, I think are like really important skills in building like meaningful relationships with people. And also just like understanding the struggles of different people through art. And which I never really realized before joining, like similar to Justice. I didn't really know what to expect when joining. And I didn't really like have a like really deep appreciation for like theater or dancing and movement and creative writing and poetry. And like First Gen really brought that to the surface for me.
My favorite word that you said was vulnerability. That word that was key, was vulnerability. That's a word that really resonates with me, is being transparent. It's so key to be vulnerable. And I like when you said it helps for building relationships, through art. I think that was really strong too. I agree with you. My art is media, and I believe that we build relationships through expressing ourselves. And vulnerability and authenticity is always key. I'm really glad you joined, and your performance, it really blew us away. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so next we have up Sticky. Sticky. Can't wait to spend some time with Sticky. Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Yo, that was powerful. It's hard to really put those performances into words, and the part about the 18 months to create the piece, I could see why. A lot goes into that. I want to ask you, in your opinion, why is it so important to stand up for like activism? Why is that so important to do that through art?
A little bit about my experience is I came to First Generation probably about 12 years ago. And previous to my time at First Gen, I had started being involved with another community group that was politically based. So I would have considered myself back then an activist before I entered into the First Gen space. And what I've learned through both of those processes and those 12 years is that to be an activist is an act of rebellion. It's to go against one of the most powerful machines that we can like put a name to in history. Well, at least that's man-made. And the thing that nobody told me in the beginning was how much emotional, physical labor that it would take to do this work. And when I joined First Gen, it changed my whole entire relationship with activism. It gave me a platform to connect instead of like going to rallies and marching and screaming. It gave me a way to refine those feelings, to connect back to the people that I care about, to connect back to the people that I wish I could care about, and really get to this point of like not only self-healing, but like the stories and the amount of connection that it takes to be able to create this work over 18 months together with a group of like 5 to 12 people. It just like, you have to have that connection to be that vulnerable. And that's how you reach people who normally wouldn't be reached.
That was so exactly what you just said. You have to be vulnerable to reach those people that normally wouldn't have been reached. And there was a part that you said was like crazy. Being an activist, going up like the biggest machines that are man-made. Not everyone is sculpted to be an activist. And there is a rebellion part of that. And growing up, you and I, what we have in common is that rebellion side of us going, and who would have thought that it would be a turn for good? Rebellion could be turned for good. And everything that you do, Sticky, is so impactful. And I just congratulate you and commend you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to ask Wize. I'm just going to spend some time with Wize now. And Wize, we're talking about activism. And I would like to ask you as well a similar question. Being an activist, why is that so important for you to be able to express yourself through art and to speak up about the activism work that you do?
I think art itself is very complex, so it allows anyone to be able to express themselves in any way they choose to do so. I would say art has the ability to live on as its own. Once you create work, it just lives on through people in a lot of ways that you didn't imagine, especially with the concept of like speaking in different languages. People feel more connected if you can reach them through their languages. So I guess art has that ability to bring it all together. I'm gonna quote Trevor Noah to get off the topic. But
Trevor, bring on some Trevor Noah.
Thinking about how in his country he had been light-skinned, but the moment he spoke the language of his own people, he was one of them. And I think that's something that art allows us to do. You can connect to anyone through language, through art, through so much more. And yes, I agree with Sticky. It is a labor, the emotions that you have to pour. It's like putting yourself on the line. Same way other people may put themselves online going through a riot. With art, it's more calculated. You craft the message you want to bring. You craft it in a way that anyone who come to watch can understand it. There's emotions, there's movement, there's all other things that combine, which takes time. You don't wake up one day and then you go out and then you have a piece of art to perform. It's really specific. There's people's emotions involved. There's time. There's pressure. There's, within yourself, you have to learn to overcome emotions that arise within specific topics, and you just are able to connect to more people through art, and you're able to connect with people you're working with.
You're so right. Yeah. You know what I love is the way you said it's a universal language that we all speak. It's a universal language that we all speak, and we all interpret it in different ways, but we all speak that language. And you're right. And it is laborious work that you do as an activist. very laborious, could be taxing and somewhat emotionally depleting. But what I commend you for is that people like you in first gen performance, you continue to push through and you continue to rise and you continue to dismantle, the old paradigms that we have, and you continue to spread the message through your art. I just appreciate you and everything you do so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Guys, it was so awesome spending some time with you. Julie, the performers are just amazing. It's just amazing to spend time with you. We just thank you for that video. We thank you for the piece. And I just thank you all performers for your words of wisdom and sharing your personal experiences with us. It's through sharing and with the hashtag that we used of Ubuntu, of I am because you are. Thank you guys. So wasn't that amazing? I just see all the comments in the chat from the participants. I just see everyone saying powerful, and some people are messaging in tears. And there's our hashtag, because every time we said that in the beginning that some emotion is evoked, that's the hashtag that we will use. And it's really about, like they said, just coming together and be able to share their voice through art, and months of preparation, totally, totally worth it. So we're going to move on to our next segment, and we have Tonya Lovelace, just one of my great friends. She does so much work in the community. She's making so much change, and we're just going to start with the workshop on decolonization and intersectionality. Just going to give you a little piece about Tonya. She has so many things on the go and so many hats that she wears. She's a global intersectional leader and the president and CEO of Lovelace Consulting Services. So she's going to do a workshop. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be informative. We're going to get right in there and really break some things down. So Tonya, are you with me?
Listen, I am with you. I am in the house. I am present. And also feeling like we can wrap up now. I was
about to say, girl, we're good. After all that, I was good.
They laid it out. What more can I say?
What could you write? I was like,
listen, the brilliance, the artistry, the messaging of first generation. I really want to ask everybody to just
just give a clap. Like that was
just. You can clap if you can. If you can clap.
Ubuntu, if you could do anything.
Ways. You have to give love. You have to give love to this group.
Yeah, that was, I was going to say, everybody, on the count of 3, we're going to do this.
Yes.
On the count of 3, we're going to take off our mics.
Okay, I love it.
Let's do it. Let's just go there. Let's just take off our mics, and everyone, on the count of 3, we're just going to say, first generation rocks. Everybody. Yes. Tech team's probably going to kill us for this, but the feedback, I know.
Come on,
on the count of 3, come on, tech team. So on the count of 3, everyone take off their mics and say first generation rocks. So 1, 2, 3.
First generation rocks.
First generation.
From a practical standpoint, I don't know what made me think I could follow them. I mean, I watched their video, I saw the stuff, I knew what I was in for, but it's like watching it again somehow, right? Just touched me very deeply. And so I'm so grateful we got to hear from every single one of them. And so I am going to do what I can with my approach to make sure that it all fits. It's going to happen. Listen. To decolonize my approach these days, I've come to understand that we have to see the time that we have together as infinite, right? Ooh. Time is infinite among us in this moment. Whatever fits in this moment is meant to be. So I'm not stressed, I'm not pressed. This is flowing as it should. And I'm grateful to everyone for this opportunity, and so grateful to NAMEN for entrusting this time with me. And Karen, sis, we already have a thing. So looking forward to continuing that sisterhood.
So awesome. I was going to say, not stressed, not pressed, not oppressed, just blessed, right? So just blessed. So I'm going to hand it over to you. And you know what? I think their presentation was a perfect segue. Actually, I think it really set the tone and passed the baton. And I know you're just going to lead the way and finish it off strong. So I'm going to let you do your thing. And we're going to have some big things happening from Tonya.
Yes, thank you. And listen, you know, to everybody who's with us today, you know, I think that first generation really showed us how important bringing your whole self present, being fully present and participatory is necessary. And so I just had this feeling how important it was for us to have engagement, for me to not sort of subscribe to you what it means to essentially to decide for you how it's going to look for you to include intersectionality in your work. I think that it's important for every single person on this call to look and to have a conversation themselves around intersectionality, decolonization, the origins of race, and so forth, so that you can embed this in your work. And so I want to tell you that so that you're prepared for the small group sessions that are going to be happening. We will be breaking you up into workshop spaces, into small groups. Generally speaking, best case scenario and best protocol is for you to be off video. If you are not able to do that, because we want to make sure it's accessible, you don't have to. It's just an intention. And so it's something for you to consider as we do that. Also want to let you know that again, and just for the video team, I am getting these questions to enter the waiting room. So I'm not sure what I should be doing about that. So I just wanted to let you know if I have a role in that or not. And if not, then please take that back so I don't do something wrong. So I just want to be sure that that's clear. So I'm going to start my screen sharing, and it's interactive in the way that I too will be coming in and out of screen and want to have the opportunity to ensure that we're both following along, and then I will come out of PowerPoint at different points where it makes sense for us to speak directly. And so again, this is a session on intersectionality and decolonization, and this is going to be a discussion on the implications and accountabilities for engaging men. And the objectives of this session is to hold, again, an interactive discussion introducing foundational elements of intersectionality and decolonization. Centering in this discussion today, anti-indigeneity and anti-Blackness, since both of those have really been rooted within this context of intersectionality and decolonization. But it is also meant to really look at and think about and consider all individuals that sit at the intersections of various targeted identities. Also, the objective is to provide participants an opportunity through small and large group discussion to determine their own relationship and accountabilities to those living at the margins. And so you will utilize these opportunities in small group to hash these conversations out as much as you can in 10 minutes each. But also it's intended for you to show up on this topic, to show up and be yourself, and to really use this to plant seeds and or to water seeds that you already have, and or to tend to blooms that you already have in motion, so that this continues the work that you're doing. And so I'm going to be showing periodically the presentation outline so you can see what's coming, so you can see what's happening and where we are. And the check mark will demonstrate what that is. Also, in case you're having any concerns about how to see the PowerPoint or it's not showing up well on your screen, I know that on the right-hand side at the top corner of your screen, you can click onto speaker view, and that will even more so center the PowerPoint. And I hope that that is helpful to you. And so earlier this summer, I wrote an article that was related to the George Floyd circumstance that we all witnessed. And in doing so, I may not be the first person to ever say it, but in that phrase and in that article, I really talked about how breath is political, that Black people are fighting for the very right to breathe. And many communities are fighting for the very right to breathe. And for that perspective, the fact that we have breath today and in these moments, breath is sacred. And so I want us to be able to start off on common breath, on sacred breath together. And also I've begun to weave this more and more in my work to make sure that those of us who work in the trenches and in various spaces all day, every day, who are advocates, who are activists, that we take a moment to breathe. Because once again, there are those who come before us so that we may breathe. And I think it's important for us to take the breath as we can. So in your own space, you can either do what I'm doing or you can do what makes sense for you. What I'm going to ask is you can either close your eyes or look straight ahead as if you are looking at a horizon in front of you, and allow your eyelids to sort of drop a little. And we want to do a little centering and a little bit of breath. So I'm going to close my eyes. And I'm going to ask you to notice how your feet are laying on the ground, how they connect with the ground, if they are on the ground. And if they're not on the ground, just notice how your feet are positioned. Notice how your legs connect with the chair or the space you're sitting on. Notice how your back is either against the seat that you're sitting on, or if it's suspended in air, notice how it is suspended. Notice your arms, where they're positioned. Notice your hands and where they are. Notice if you're holding tension in your hands. Notice if you're holding tension in your shoulders and in your neck. Do a very quick body scan from the top of your head down through your body. Notice if there are areas of tension, areas of stress or pain. Scan all the way down to your feet. And we're going to take 4 breaths together. The first 2 are going to be just regular nose in breath, a deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth slowly. And then the last 2 breaths, I'm going to encourage you to bring your shoulders up to your ears if you're able to do so. And then allow your shoulders to drop as we're blowing out. The intention is to open your heart chakras a little bit. So take a deep breath in through your nose. Blow out slowly through your mouth. Deep breath in through your nose. Slowly out through your mouth. This time, take a deep breath in. Bring your shoulders to your ears. Then allow your shoulders to drop and blow out slowly. One more. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Shoulders to your ears. Allow your shoulders to drop and blow out slowly. One last breath, and we're going to breathe in light into all of those areas of tension, stress, and pain. Breathe in slowly. Breathe in light. And then blow out pain, stress, tension. Now bring yourself back through to the conversation. Thank you. I think I do that. It's very probably more self-motivated than anything that I do that, because it allows me to start off on a clean breath. So I am going to take myself down from screen share for a moment. And I'm going to ask you to please write in the chat your name and how you identify. We've changed that to, and you can also say my people are, but you can put in your name and how you identify, or how your people, who your people are. Such as, my name is Tonya. I identify as Black, cisgender, heterosexual. My people are Afro-descendant around the world. So take a moment to say your name, to say how you identify, and say who your people are. We would love to have your participation. Thank you, Shane. Shane is Black and immigrant, and he is Afro-Caribbean descent. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin identifies as straight, white, currently abled. I love the currently abled, the currently healthy. Amazing. Cisgender, well-fed man. Absolutely. Royal flush of privilege. I love it. And as they come up, I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to point out some and pull them out. Jeff Matsushita, sorry. He, him, and I'm she, her, by the way. And he identifies as biracial API. People work for those on the margins and pick up basketball players. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Going to hear from Corey. Corey is a citizen of the United Kituwa Band, and he identifies as cis-het male. I see Travis. Travis Richards, he uses he, him, his pronouns, Black, cis nonconformist, Bahamian, Bahamas identity. I see Ellen. Ellen identifies as white, cis, she, hers, Jewish woman. Thank you. Thank you for continuing to identify. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint in just a moment, but I'm just going to give a moment for you all to just silently see how people identify, who they are. And while I'm sharing my screen, you can still see the chat, I'm pretty sure. So I will go back now to my PowerPoint. Thank you so much. Continue to share, and we can continue to look at that. So I want to share some group agreements, and I'm hoping that you can just try these on. And what we're really asking is to honor confidentiality, and meaning what is said here stays here. And that just means that if you go back and you're in another conversation with someone about the discussion today, and somebody says something that is that really stands out for you that you want to offer. It might be more appropriate to offer that information without saying who said it. And I think that the intention is to ensure that people are able to receive the information and also maintaining people's confidentiality. I hope that that makes sense to you. We're also asking you to listen to others while you're in small group and while you're in large group, because we will do that as well. Asking you to use I statements. You're really going to be speaking from your own perspective. We're encouraging you to really speak from your own experience. And we're asking you to show respect for yourself and for others, thus creating some level of safety. Safety cannot be guaranteed, but the intention and access to safety is also privilege, right? But really intending to give space so that people can feel as safe as possible in spaces together. Really want to encourage you to value risk-taking from others, and also risk and value the risk-taking you may take today on your own behalf. You may say things you weren't expecting to say. Give yourself grace for that. Give yourself an opportunity for that, whatever comes out. And to hold space for yourself as you would for others. And I encourage you to express thoughts and emotions with sensitivity towards others' feelings. So at the same time that you're going to be risk-taking, still be aware of how to be respectful to others, think about other people's emotions as well, and make sure that there's a bit of measured approach that you take in your engagement. And therefore then to uphold and be impeccable in your communication. And meaning it's not intended to mean that you're going to be perfect. And we use the term impeccable, but not intending that you're going to be perfect, but the intention is that you're going to do your best, right? And then you're going to also use ouch where necessary. If you feel that there has been some boundaries crossed, I think that's okay to say to folks that there's been a boundary. And if you feel comfortable saying what that may look like. If you don't feel comfortable, then it may be for the other person to consider. Goal though is to have communication as fluid as possible. And so we're going to move into another chat check-in, and I am going to take myself off of sharing again. And what we really want to give you is an opportunity for you to say why this topic is important to you, why intersectionality and decolonization are important topics for you. So if you can just drop that in the chat. Why is this an important topic for you? And you can use a couple of words, more than a couple of words, whatever makes sense to you. But if you can just drop a few words into chat, that would be great. We're hearing Craig saying that the world needs to change and that this is vital. What are other reasons why people are interested in this topic today? Susan believes in true justice and wants to fight for it in an informed way. Understanding that this is the leverage into radical transformation. Thank you, Stephen. Josie says that it's fundamental in doing effective work in the world. Oswaldo says that intersectionality offers a more inclusive approach to social justice. Say says, I need to change to know the world as it is to do the work. Absolutely. Amanda says that they want to feel safe about being their true selves and for others to understand the strength in differences among people. Absolutely. Brennan thinks that this is important in transforming masculinities towards decolonization and transforming systems of oppression. Thank you. Keep your thoughts coming. Keep your thoughts coming. It's important to have that here for the record, for you, for others around you, to show all the way up, to say why this topic is important to you. Truly appreciate your thoughts. I now am going to place us back onto sharing, although I realize I probably didn't have to do that because the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to show a video. I have determined that in these kinds of conversations around decolonization and intersectionality, if we can have people who bring key voices and key perspectives, it's important to have them speak it in their own voice rather than me try to interpret or reinvent the wheel there. And so we've got some video throughout this conversation today that will give you an opportunity to reflect upon and to respond to. So this first video is on the origins of race in the United States from a series of, from a video series entitled Origins of Everything. And so we're going to show this. The person speaking is Danielle Bainbridge. This is from 2018. But for now, I just wanted you to know that we are now going to place you in small groups so that you can have an opportunity to just really respond and to consider this idea of the origins of race and race as a construct. And not as something that is a fixed context, but something that was really developed and masterminded. So we're going to go into small groups now, and the small groups will be 10 minutes, and then we will bring you back to conversation. Thank you. Hey, I'm encouraging you all, drop a few jewels into the chat in terms of things that came up in your session. You know, just if there's a concept or a phrase or a statement or anything that you want to share, feel free to do that. I'm just gonna give you a moment to do that. If there are folks that just wanna say, hey, here's a word. Yes, I love the not enough time. I'm totally getting that. So grateful. Yeah, am I white or not? Interesting. So the change that we need is taking too long. Someone, you know, Umberto is feeling impatient about that. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is share my screen for just a moment to show you two video that's going to be coming up, so you know then what is coming. And so the next two video, because we're gonna get the video out of the way. You've done your small group, you've talked about, you felt, you learned, and this applies to your work because, and you're gonna do the same thing with the next two video. So we are going to watch, and we ask that you, you know, watch this next, you know, 17 minutes of video, 18 minutes of video. It's going to be amazing information. The first video is Decolonization is for Everyone. It is from Nikki Sanchez. It is from a TEDx talk in 2019. And her work is based in, her experience is based in Canada. So it'll be really important to hear about Indigenous communities in Canada, but also a way for you to really sort of hear the references as it relates to Indigenous people around the world. And then the third video is 4 minutes and 24 seconds, and it is from Kimberly Crenshaw, who coined the term intersectionality. And we want to hear from her and hear from her direct words around this. And again, you're going to get the video, or you will get access to the video links once this is over. We will have that information populated on the website for the symposium, but we just wanted you and you'll probably also have access to the PowerPoint. But we are going to watch this video together. So we will watch the first video. We'll watch this second video with Nikki Sanchez, and then we will take a quick second and we'll connect and speak a little bit until the third video gets shown. So we will get started. And hopefully there were pieces that were really critical that you heard And I didn't get a chance to type it in quickly enough. But definitely word, Antonia, word, right? Like, I think that the most salient statement that she said was, what if white supremacy, ending white supremacy and ending patriarchy were not seen as two separate topics, but were seen within the same context? Well, where would we be now? So we are going to place you into small group. And what we want to really reinforce again for some folks is that this is intended. So as Nikki Sanchez stated, these issues are not your fault, but you are responsible for them. A part of that means showing up fully for these conversations and being here. And that does mean then that at the most of it, it means participating verbally. It also means where it is possible to show your video so that you can fully be present. I understand that not everybody can be seen by video, but we are asking you to have active participation so that the dialogue doesn't fall on one person or another. We're asking you to show up in your own individual responsibility around this topic. And so we're asking you again to fully participate in the small group, and we appreciate everyone for doing so. We know we're in a room full of activists and advocates who know how to do this. So we'd love to have you participate, and we are now going to bring you into small group. And I love that folks are dropping in here what you've been thinking, what your experience was. Meanwhile, I am going to share my screen. I'm going to get into my slides now and some of my thoughts here. So we're going to move into some takeaway offerings. Just as sort of a wrap up. So really want to emphasize then regarding the origins of race, the basic messaging that came from that video that I just want to, or at least the way that I saw the summarized comments process, is that race is a human construct, right? That it was born of scientific, religious, and legal acts to create a white class, because there was no white class prior to that. And the purpose was to dehumanize non-white people, thus claiming white superiority, and to justify the colonization of indigenous land and indigenous erasure around the world, institutionalizing anti-indigeneity. So bottom line was, this piece, the context of race, was really used to justify the seizure of indigenous land, not just in this United States, not just in Canada, not just in Northern America, but around the world. This concept of race began to really reinforce that. Folks were doing that before the concept of race happened, right? But what we want to emphasize is that they gave people even more justification for the continued tyranny that occurred. It was also used to justify the enslavement of African people around the world and the eventual development of anti-Blackness, race, caste, and colorism. I also want to be clear that it was used to also colonize various parts, pretty much all of Africa, right? And so colonization is a context that was used against both indigenous people, what was used against indigenous people wherever they were located. And I thought that it was really great. I loved how Stephen said that that it was, that these were enslaved Native people who were stolen from their land, and that it's also folks who are in Native, who are here in North America, whose land was stolen. So this concept of stolen land, stolen people resonates across Indigenous and African communities. And so then when we move into intersectionality, some of the pieces that I want to reinforce is that intersectionality begins with the recognition that we all have multiple and layered identities. It centers those at the deepest of the intersections and the margins of identity, and on the margins of the margins. It decenters single issue approaches. So the approach to only work on gender, there's really a call to move beyond that and to look across identities simultaneously. It decenters privilege as well. So if you've been using intersectional to mean a layering of identity only, then you're missing the part that it actually is intended to decenter, though, those who are privileged and centralizes those who live at the margins. And so intersectionality is very specific concept. It assumes that those on the margins as well can represent on behalf of the identity groups that they are a part of. So that means then that if you're going to talk about women, you don't have to have white women talk about women. You don't have to have men speak about Black experiences. That, for example, that you really can have folks, you can have Black women speak about Black experiences. You can have women of color who can speak about patriarchy, right? And so that these identities, you can have multiple identities represented and represent identity groups. And it encourages all to self-identify and to hold an understanding of where you are positioned. So I hope some of your small group conversations allowed you to do that. We challenge you, intersectionality challenges those with layers of privilege to self-locate and to no longer uphold implicit identity. And it sets a priority to end patriarchy, capitalism, Eurocentricity, and all other isms simultaneously. Intersectionality is not just a listing of identities, and it is not intended to amplify the experiences of those with compounded privilege, those who have multiple layers of privilege. It is not used as an opportunity for you to just name those privileges as a part of identity, but it encourages you to say how those privileges are compounded to create the experience that you have with layers of privilege. And so I have this cute little graphic that shows that if we're only looking at gender, then that is a single issue approach. If you begin to look at race and gender by themselves, those again are single issue approaches. But if you begin to look at gender and race together, then you're beginning to look at the margins. If you then include sexual orientation, then you're beginning to look at the margins of the margins, right? If you include gender identity, then you're looking again at the margins of the margins. If you include disability, then you're looking even further at the margins of the margins. This is intersectionality. This is the way you should be using it going forward. And an example of the margins are the ways in which Black trans women are experiencing violence and homicide at greater rates. And for example, in July 2020, 6 Black trans women were found killed in 9 days. And what I want to emphasize about that is that people do the most harm at the margins of the margins because nobody is looking there. Nobody is seeing that as their responsibility to focus on. And so what my call to this group is how do we look at the margins of the margins? In this PowerPoint, I did capture what Nikki Sanchez already said about the first steps around decolonization that we need to take and what decolonization looks like. And I want to be sure that you get a chance to either look at the video and also to see this PowerPoint, which will be on the website. But to just say, here's what I want to, my last thought here is that Black and Indigenous commonality is important to note. It is important to note that Indigenous people in North America and around the world have experienced colonization and are seeking indigenization, which is a reclamation of Indigenous communities, where they are reclaiming original language, land, body, and values, and they are seeking to stop tyranny that has resulted in thousands of missing and murdered Indigenous women. I also want to say that Black people in North America and displaced around the world and within the African continent have also had their indigeneity stolen in many cases. Excuse me. And are seeking also their originality and are seeking the end of thousands of missing and murdered Black women and girls and police brutality that's happening in Nigeria and other places around the world that are rooted in anti-Blackness even if these are things we're doing within our own communities. And so what I'm going to do now is move into small group. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to ask us to really look at these questions, and I'm going to drop them into the chat box myself here. And here are the questions at hand, unless they're already there. So I'm going to place them in. And this is what I'm asking everybody to consider. I'm asking you to consider, given this information that you've had today, that we've experienced together, the questions are, what do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? What are your accountabilities in applying intersectionality and decolonization in your work to end men and boys? And how will you apply that work to what you've learned? How will you apply what you've learned? So I'm going to ask if folks want to speak, feel free to unmute yourself. We would love, and also you can place your concepts in chat. Either way, feel free to have and participate in large group discussion, and we will go on for the next until 4:15 with this. So what are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Any piece of those questions, feel free to respond to. You can feel free to unmute yourself.
Sure, I'll go first right quick.
Thank you, Travis, I appreciate it.
It's no problem. So I want to touch bases on what are my accountabilities in applying intersectionality and decolonization in my work to engage men and boys. So specifically, I work with young boys from K through 12 at the YWCA Dayton. I'm a program specialist for the Men Together program. Yeah.
That was my first job in the movement, was at the YWCA of Dayton. Are you kidding?
That's me.
Talk, Travis, keep going. Keep going.
Let's go.
Let's
Energy,
do this.
reciprocation.
Yes, I love it. Dayton is a wonderful place. It's the home of funk music and everything. Keep going.
Let's go. So basically, Men Together is all about, it's a primary preventative initiative dedicated to ending violence against women and girls by engaging men and boys to be a part of the solution. So ideally, creating space for young boys and let them know that they can take up space intentionally and unapologetically. And especially being in minority-based communities where you don't have the chance to really create your own identity before colonizers and society tells you who you are. These programs essentially teaches you the essential tools to become who you are authentically and live that way. So I think it's really focused on debunking a lot of stigmas projected upon society prior to these kids having an understanding of who they are and giving them the opportunity to really engage and dig in deep to find what hurts you, what ails you, and how can we start the healing process at a young age.
Thank you so much, Travis. That was amazing.
No
problem. And I'm considering you a homeboy now, and I love it. Let's go. So I'm going to ask you to put yourself on mute, keeping folks to 30 seconds. Fantastic. What are other perspectives? Any of the questions that anybody wants to respond to, we would love to hear from you. Open invitation. Yes. Hi, George.
How you doing? George Kirkpatrick, he, him, Syracuse, Vera House, Engaging Men Project Coordinator, working with men and youth. One of the things I'm interested in is learning more of the First Nation communities where I actually live in Syracuse. We're located on the land of the Onondaga Nation, which is 5 minutes away from where I live. And, we've had sort of we're aware, right? But not as much. So I really want to learn more and engage with that community a little bit more, even though I claim to know something about that community, right? And so that's one of the things I want to do more of. And also, in terms of intersectionality and decolonization, our work with Engaging Men has been particularly from a heteronormative perspective. And one of the things we want to do more of is to engage men across the spectrum and also across the gender spectrum, I should say, male identified across the gender spectrum, so that we can engage that community in a different way and engage them as well. And that's work that we're looking at. I want to do more of that.
Thank you so much, George. I appreciate it. Love it. Love it. Yes. Yes, working at the intersections of the communities we are working with, of men and boys, and making sure that masculinities across gender identity and sexual orientation are represented. Awesome, awesome. And making sure that First Nations are more represented and that you know what you're talking about when you talk about it. I love that, George, because I think that that's what I think we all could be doing more of that. Absolutely. What are other comments that people have? We'd love to hear your voice today. Although in the small groups, you all have heard each other. I'm a little jealous of that. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie about that. Or if there are things that came from the sessions you've already said and you think bears repeating here, I think that's also important. So for those who felt like you didn't have enough time, maybe you can use this as a moment to say, you got your 30 seconds of fame here. I'm giving it to you. You got it. To say what you want to say here.
Tonya, this is Stephen.
Yes.
I just want to firstly just thank you for your teaching. Every time I listen to you, I feel like I go deeper on this. And I'm really intrigued by this idea of decolonization and how we all step into that process and ultimately find each other there. And so for me, it's my thing is going to be to really bring this concept, this language of decolonization to the conversations that I'm having. Certainly within NAMEN, we have already been having this conversation, and this symposium is one manifestation of that. And the board is transforming itself in some profound ways, and that is, I think, directly coming from this experiment of decolonization, but also in my own activist community, in my home community. So thank you for keeping the fire burning within me on this.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you, Stephen. And you're right. I think that, you know, as a board, I'm a part of NAMEN board, and, you know, we have been having these conversations. And if I had anything to have it, as soon as I stepped in the room, we were having these conversations. But I know that the conversations were already being had there. And a couple of things I want to say quickly about decolonization, that there just wasn't enough time. And I feel like that might be part two, right? Part two would be thinking about the values that we hold from colonizers, right? From the colonized perspective, right? Things like valuing competition, things like time as scarce, things like resources as scarce, things like binary concepts, binary identities, right? These are things that are rooted in white supremacy, in capitalism, and in patriarchy, right? And in heterosexism. And I love the idea also that somebody put in here about private land ownership, right? I think that these are things that are critical, and folks can continue to think about, what are the values you hold? So for me, one of the things I had to let go of was how time was. I know I've got deadlines. I know that we have time constraints. But for me, in this moment, in this next 4 minutes that we have, time is infinite in this space, right? And that's how I've begun to think about it. And that has freed me up to not feel overwhelmed. It means to me that I trust that there will be time again, right? To continue this. But in this moment, time is infinite. So I'm going to ask if there's anybody else within your infinite 30 seconds, if you want to share what you're thinking. Yes, thank you, Heather.
So this is really powerful for me because I have this really specific thing that I'm good at. And I have the oral history of my ancestors from when a lot of stuff started a couple thousand years ago in Scotland. And so that was the beginning of what ended up as white supremacy. So I know that 1500 years of trauma and how that trauma of my people was used to create enforcers of colonization and white supremacy. I know how my people got used, and I can sit in a room with one of them while they're losing it, with their little Confederate flag and change that so that they're not doing that.
Listen, Heather, here's what I feel like has to happen. I think that white people, as you know, those who, how does her Ta-Nehisi Coates say, but that hold, those who would identify themselves as white, right? I think have a lot of information, a lot of secrets, a lot of details such as that would help really bring to bear and bring to light what we need to know collectively. Heather, I think that is brilliant information. That's stuff that people sit with in silence and in fear and in guilt, right? But Nikki Sanchez said, why are we going to walk around in any type of guilt? Really, those are things that we've inherited. It is our responsibility to do something with it, Heather. I think that's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that. And is there anybody else? I think we have 2 more 30-second slots that we can allow. Oh, and I love, man, the chat is filling up, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Are there any other things that people want to share verbally? Well, chat is also verbal, but who want to say something out loud? How about that?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. I was starting to write it in the chat. Hi, I'm Joe Ostrander with NRCDV, National Resource Center on Domestic Violence.
I used to work there too. Come on.
I know. And I was starting to write this in the chat, and I thought, well, why don't I say it out loud? Because this is part of the practice of hiding behind the chat, right?
Yes.
And not speaking out loud. And what I was writing was that I know I carry an immense amount of privilege as a white heterosexual Christian man. I try to use this privilege to be a strong ally, but I often find myself hiding behind my comfort as opposed to wanting to give up the things that my white privilege give me. That to be as strong of an ally as I should be. So what do I want to do is to realize that, first of all, it's not a pie, and that, there's not an infinite amount, like we won't run out of things. And that by giving things up doesn't, or by allowing other people to have things that I have, it doesn't mean I don't get them as well. But in order for that to happen, I do need to give up a lot of my privilege, and I need to be stronger. And I try to find ways to do that, but I do struggle with it, which is why I want to come to events like this to learn. I shared and I know I've used up my 30 seconds.
Joe. Thank you so much, Joe. Yes, and thank you for acknowledging that, that we need to stop there. Just to say to you, I appreciate all of the bravery that everybody is showing, both in chat and in voice. I appreciate the risk taking that you're having, and I appreciate what you've said, Joe. And what I encourage that, yes, it is not just a matter of giving up, but then positioning and helping to position others to get into access what you have. And I think that it's a continuous process that we all are called to. I think every single one of us is called to this, in the various ways that we hold privilege and the various ways that we hold identity. And so I thank everyone so much for your time. What I want to make sure of is that we wrap up properly. So I'm going to pass it to Karen, who has some things for me. And then we'll move to the closing. You all have been fantastic in participation, and I appreciate all that you've done to be a part of this conversation. Thank you much. And Karen, please.
Tonya, that was just so enlightening. And you're right, there's just so much in the chat. There's so much going on. And I just want to commend everyone who came on video. Like you said, this is, and for those who couldn't, that's okay. But for those who did come on video and that leaning all the way in. And it really resonated with me when Joe said, you know what, I'm going to come off of camera and I'm going to do this. Right. So that was just super awesome. And the things that he touched on about being a white man and Christian and just everything that everyone's saying. And it's true, these symposiums with the value that you add and the teachings that you brought us about intersectionality and decolonization. Part that really touched me is when Nikki Sanchez said, you know what? The past is gone. There's nothing we could do about that, but we do need to know where we're going. And the only way to know where we're going is we need to know where we're at. And that's exactly what your workshop did, really honed in on where are we right now so that we could know how to move forward.
Absolutely. And I think that we had brilliant voices today, 3 amazing women by video that that really gave us a groundwork to move from. But we got our marching orders from Nikki, man. Nikki said, you know, what are you going to do now? Now that you know, you can't unknow, right? You can't unknow what you now know. And so now it brings to bear the responsibility for all of us to engage in a decolonization. All of us. She said, we are all colonized people. I love it when she said, we are all
colonized people. That was key.
And so because of that, we are all held to a process of decolonization. And the idea then that indigenous communities are the only ones in the world that should be decolonizing is actually a fallacy. It is, if they have to wake up, if folks who are indigenous have to wake up every day faced with stolen land, stolen, unenforced treaties, and a loss of legacy and a loss of language and so forth, we are all bound and responsible to step up to this experience of decolonization. If African communities and African countries are every single day, if Europe gets a cold, then they get a flu because of the currency exchange, because of the years of colonization. We should all be held to that. And we should all be held to it, even for those folks who don't. So for example, for various communities who, for whatever reasons, don't have a land they can point to, right? There are various communities that don't have a land that they can point to. That might be Hmong, for example, or might be what folks might call, there might be various communities that, and I was going to use a term, but I think that that's a term that may not be an appropriate term. What I want to say is that whether it's connected to land or not, people around the world are seeking their original selves, their original experiences, and it's important to hold on to this. But here's the thing I love that Heather brought us to that I just want to close with, which is, I believe that when white people get in touch with their cultural selves and start to move beyond the context of whiteness and start to say, hey, I'm actually Scottish, I'm actually this, I'm a mix of that, and then try to understand what those communities are, what are the values there, what is the story, what are the stories there, then you can be happy and support me when I'm digging into my culture. And you can understand why various communities are digging into their culture. And the more you do that as European-based folks, the more we then can understand, like Heather stated, the pain that may have been there for Europeans early, that then got reinforced and became a part of narcissism and other experiences that is now created an environment where folks have to really began to think they could take over other people's lands and do what they do.
You got it.
I think it's a whole thing. Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah. And also when she, what I love too, is that when there's something heavy like that, when there's a lot going on, and then the speaker ends off with, now you go do the work.
Yes.
I also loved that she said, and this is what you can do. So not only do you have to do the work, I'll give you the bullet points on what you can do. And I love the way they were very basic, just go ahead.
And I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. I went on there and screenshot those.
I was just like, do what Nikki says. I was like, do what Nikki says.
I have nothing else to say.
I was like,
and so my reinforcement to you is to go check it out, watch the video again, pull up my PowerPoint if you also want to see those directives from Nikki. And I just, again, Karen, I know that you only have so much time. I just want to thank everybody again for your time and participation. I also want to say that I I hate to say this, but I will say, is that I'm sitting with programs and I'm doing this work with programs, and I'm also doing this work with individuals. And so I am available to support people, and I'm available to do that. I am available as a consultant to do that.
You're available to all of us, and you're going to get an influx of inboxes right after that. So the more you make yourself available, just beware, girl, we're coming out. Right?
I am doing coaching with people. I'm doing individual coaching, and I'm doing what I guess I consider organizational coaching.
Yes, and I think you're just really broke it down for us. And a key point was, I really, really want to make sure, and I say that Nikki also told us what not to do. That I before we part, me and you, because I really wanted to have this dialogue.
Yes,
it is so key. Instead of always saying what to do, it's almost, if not more important, when she said also stay in your lane, right? Stay in your lane, and that's key.
Do not co-opt the information, right? Don't try to make it your own. Don't try to seize it, but to really learn from it, and then to figure out what parts are for you, what parts are for you to step back and support others. And then when not sure of that, check in with folks of your own identity for further reinforcement on that, or go back and watch Nikki again.
Wasn't that just, because there's not really one word I could try to put that in, but it was needed. It was key. Intersectionality and decolonization. I want to wrap up by bringing in our NAMEN board member, Alan. Alan is with us, and I'm just going to give you an introduction of what Alan does. So many different things. He's a NAMEN board member and director of the Center of Violence Prevention at the University of Northern Iowa. And what I really love about Alan is he collaborates and consults with post-secondary schools and institutions on systemic approaches to address violence and bullying. And that's really, really awesome work that you do, Alan. So I will pass it on to you to just wrap us up and put some key points in that we all could just use a great reminder about.
Appreciate this opportunity. I'm humbled actually to say just a few things about our time together today. I was reflecting so much during the last 3 hours, and really wanted to focus on how I was feeling and really pay attention to my emotions. And it's so interesting. I noticed at times I felt nervous. I felt incredibly hopeful, sometimes angry, sad. I was encouraged so many times, feeling vulnerable, but motivated, peaceful, but sometimes disgusted, inspired for sure, a bit betrayed, humbled, and ultimately optimistic. I am such a better person for having been able to join this symposium today and to hear from these awesome speakers and presenters. And it really inspires me to want to take the information that was shared today and to share it and continue learning and sharing it with others. Just a couple highlights for me as the presenters were sharing the material with us. Starting off with Greg Cloud, oh my gosh, there was such a powerful way to enter into thinking and reflecting on how we communicate and how we both verbally and non-verbally, and the impact that it has on those who we care about deeply, or with maybe those with whom we're working, and being aware and cognizant of that is such a powerful demonstration. I just appreciate Greg so much and the work that he does, and being able to helping men heal in ways that maybe we haven't asked before. Joni and Stephen brought a lot of sense of pride and connectedness of being a part of NAMEN, and the goals and the aspirations that we have as an organization, and moving forward together, to understand more fully intersectionality, and how all genders can be transformed, can work together to transform and dismantle patriarchy and white supremacy. Honored to be a part of this organization. the first gen productions. Oh my gosh, to be an activist at age 13, I was thinking about my next meal or how I could get away from my parents at age 13. I was nowhere even close to thinking of being an activist myself at the time, but to the point that that Sticky and Carrie and others made such a valuable piece of information, so much to learn, so much wisdom in the youth that they shared with us today is beautiful. It's so amazing. Tonya, I would just close by saying thank you for your words. I so much appreciate the way you framed the inclusiveness of this work together when you said that today's workshop would be an opportunity for you to continue to plant seeds, or maybe to water seeds, or maybe to tend to the blooms that you've already placed in motion. Thank you for your wisdom, and thank you for being a part of the NAMEN board. Karen, there's no way to capture all of the awesome and amazing things that were shared today. Those are a few of the highlights for me, and just continue to learning and growing more deeply into this work. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, I love the part where you said sometimes you had I love your transparency, Alan, about sometimes you felt really good, sometimes you felt emotional. And what really touched me was when you said, sometimes I feel disgusting. And I really believe in those moments when we feel that way, that's when the real stuff comes up. You know, thank you so much for that authenticity about, we always want to say we feel great, but I think there's so much power in saying, you know what? And disgusting isn't bad. I think it's discomfort, meaning whenever we're uncomfortable, we always strive to reach for a comfort zone. So I think there's so much power in discomfort.
Thank you.
Awesome. So that being said, what a symposium. I see everyone connecting in the chat, which is great. Not only is this a place for gathering knowledge, but it's also a great place to connect and meet new people. So we just want to remind you that a little bit of reminders before we sign off, that Wednesday for day 2, there's a separate Zoom link than there was for today. So December 2nd, a separate Zoom link. So look out for that. Do not use the same Zoom link. Also, we want to remind you that I think Alan may have mentioned it already, but that there is going to be a free membership for everyone that participated. And also what I want to really thank before we sign off is tech team. Just always hats off to the tech team, always doing such a flawless, efficient job. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Obviously, due to unprecedented times, we can't be together in person, but what the tech team does is makes that in-person feeling. And really wanted to give a special thank you for bringing us in a safe space where we could all come together and say our feelings. We know a lot of work goes behind not just a tech part of it, but making sure and capturing emotions in a safe zone. So I just appreciate you so much and everything you do for NAMEN and for us here and for all the participants. That being said, for those of you who may not know me, what I do is I have a talk show, and I really focus on men and their voices and bring their stories to the forefront. And every time when I close out one of those shows, I always close out with an affirmation. And I really believe that ending it off with affirming who we are and what we want to do going forward would close it off nicely. So I picked one, made one exactly for this symposium that we're going to bring up on the screen. And I'm just going to say it out loud for you together so that we can close off empowered. And the affirmation goes something a little bit like this. I understand that the empowerment of others does not threaten my strength as a man, nor does it threaten my masculinity. I demonstrate awareness of gender oppression and strive to achieve gender equality. I continuously educate myself and support others to promote health for men, women, and children while engaging men and boys. And I offer for you today, whether a man, woman, whatever we identify as, affirmations like this really help recognize the work that we need to do. We appreciate your attendance and your participation. We thank you, we value, and until then.